what do the Australian cricketers want?
The Australian players might actually go on strike if their ongoing pay dispute with the board continues. But essentially, there was a new proposal pay structure from the board offered, Cricket Australia offered, where the revenue was to be given to the top 20 contracted players only. The Players Cricket Association from Australia wanted that to be universally spread to all the players.
The deal's been the same for a long time now. So what the players are saying is, why do you change it now? Why? It's been good, it's been working, so let's stick with the same thing.
Big players, including Steve Smith, Mitchell Starc, have said, we're not going to sign unless you put this on the table.
Let's hope they make a little more money.
Always.
Right?
Players should.
With the June 30th deadline long gone, there seems to be no breakthrough in the deadlock between the Australian cricketers and Cricket Australia. While the board has made its stance very clear about sharing its revenue with only their top contracted cricketers, the Cricketers Association has proposed that out of all the revenue earned, the board can still retain 55%, while 22.5% should be shared with all the players and the remaining 22.5% used at the grassroots level. So who will blink first, the board or the players? Or will Australian cricket remain in this state of limbo?
Now that we are into July, these long-standing pay negotiations or talks between the cricketers of Australia and Cricket Australia, the board, have fallen through. There's nothing that's happened. The deadlock hasn't been broken. And so, effective 1st July 2017, the Australian players find themselves unemployed.
That's right. The future of Australian cricket might seem unclear, but that is not stopping Captain Steve Smith from hitting the ball out of the park in an alternate sport, while Vice Captain David Warner is not holding himself back from openly talking about his unemployed status.
Where does Australia go from here? And do we genuinely see the possibility of players not playing the Ashes? Because the board, instead of trying to mediate it, has come down with an ultimatum. You play any cricket outside of this, if we don't authorize, we ban you.
Sounds like some other powerful body that tells everybody what to do. I wonder which one.
We're kind of glorifying the Australian players because we're liking the fact that international players are actually standing up for the rights of the domestic players.
Will Australia crumble? That's the big question here.
But I think we need to also identify where is the blame genuinely only with the board, because the board is always the villain, right? At the end of the day, they've bumped up the players' fees, annual fees, more than they'd ever make.
Cricket Australia has proposed to increase the annual pay of international male cricketers to 1.45 million Aussie dollars from their previous pay of 1.16 million. And for the female international players, it goes up from 79,000 AUD per year to 179,000 annually, a hike of 125%.
I think the fault has to be at the board, because if the players are just, even if they are being brash about it, if they're being arrogant about it, it's about the board to adopt whatever tactics it is to bring them in line. And yes, this might be one of those tactics where they're also taking a stand and saying, no, we won't budge from the original proposal that was made to you.
Reminds me of an arranged marriage in India going wrong, suddenly when both the father of the bride and the bridegroom are refusing to talk.
I mean, the question is, will the Australian government intervene, which they've said they might do, if the Ashes doesn't go ahead? Or will there be perhaps a rebel tournament started, as has been started in the past, like the Indian Cricket League? I think that's the main question, and that's what there's no clarity on.
Do players have a genuine claim to the revenue of the board, or should they be capped on a salary or a contract like employees?
One sec. Take out the star cricketers, then the Australian system collapses. Who's going to watch Australian cricket? Who's going to watch the Ashes?
So when the men's team was knocked out of the Champions Trophy, I think the public perception was perhaps the players would start budging, but that hasn't happened.
By October, it has to be resolved because they have to come to India. And we run the game. There's no question.
No, but they could figure out like a temporary short-term contract for that, and this dispute could continue till afterwards. Even though the players have said that.
That's a very good idea. Just keep stalling.
No, but Ian Chappell points out that there is no sort of scope of a second, third team coming in, because the entire first-class bunch of players are also part of the union.
Exactly.
So if Cricket Australia need to find
Under
11
14s.
players, they've got to go to the club level. And that is surely not going to happen.
Then all the Indians in Australia will get to play cricket for Australia. You solve the problem. So let's go around the room quickly and find out, do you think you're in favor of the Aussie cricketers taking a stand, or should they come to the party and accept the board's generous offer, as our leader has said?
I think it's not a yes or no question.
I like that. Let's leave it.
I think they should just sit and discuss it. What is happening is really stupid.
Find a middle path.
Yeah.
Typical Indian
Absolutely, a middle ground needs to be found out, and that has to be done very soon.
answer. So
I agree with the players. I think they're taking the
I
stand
also
for the
agree with the
right,
players. I think
right
that's-
calls.
If the players are right, but it also raises the question that when it's a fan and when they don't have that much money, they should also be willing to take a pay cut.
I think the board's being reasonable.
which means we've finished the subject. All right.